Okay, after watching the Lex Fridman interview with Kanye, I gotta say this. As a fan of Kanye, you know what I mean, and not only as a fellow believer, every time I speak about this situation, about his prior videos, you know, I do my best, because no matter what I speak on, everybody that knows my shows when I speak know that I'm gonna speak both sides if there is a both sides. You know what I mean? My point being is the fact that not only am I a fan of Kanye, but like I said, I'm a fellow believer. You know, I do my best to try to find a justification. You know what I mean? Another side to why it could be Kanye is, what some would call ranting, etc. Why he's been speaking the way he's been speaking in his interviews. Besides for the everything that makes sense that he speaks, but as far as when it comes to sounding like rants, talking about Jewish media and so forth and so on, to where, and as far as the Jewish media, I say it from the rip, that, just like Lex Fridman said, I said the same thing, to where he needed to just talk about and get off his chest who the specific person or people were, and not just aiming at all Jewish people. That nips that in the bud. But I said all that to say this. No matter what you talk about, it's not only what you say, it's how you say. And not only that, I got to say this. As, again, somebody that's not only a fan of your music, you know what I mean? That salute you, and it's not no buttering up, just straight up. That salute you as far as a clothing designer, artist, lyrical genius, however you want to put it. And another brother that glorifies Jesus, that I got to say this. You need to stop playing with God. You need to seriously stop playing with God, with the cursing, with the profanity jokes. You need to stop playing with God. You know what I mean? Let alone negative things that you have said and things that were put in negative ways already is being led to negative energy, being drawn to you in many ways, from deals being cut off and stuff like that. Okay, it is what it is. All right, like I said, I already looked at that as losing the world to gain your soul. Keep your soul however you want, and staying in the will of God, even though you can still be successful and have those deals and glorify God. But with that being said, everybody knows what I'm talking about, as far as, like Kanye even said, he went along the dark path at one point. But what I'm talking about now, when in the midst of your interviews, and it's people like me doing my best to find a positive thing out of all these interviews and focus on the positivity, I feel disrespected as a believer, and I'm not going to tolerate nobody glorifying God playing both sides, because that's what it looks like. When you saying disrespectful jokes, talking about your penis and stuff like that, is disrespectful. Choose one side. Are you rocking with God or what? Because if you're rocking with God, you shouldn't have to question yourself in the midst of the Lex Fridman interview and say, I wonder if I'm disrespecting God or coming out of the will of God, doing God's will. Wonder if you're asking yourself that, you're convicted, because you know you are. Stop playing with God. And like I said, out of all the backlash and everything that you getting speaking about any other topic, What matters more than me is you playing with God. Because I feel like another thing, forget the money you got, how much money and power you may have as far as this world power, because it's a lowercase p power and it's a lowercase g God when it comes to this earth. You know what I'm talking about, the devil and the powers that be versus the power of God and the G in God. So my point is, no matter how much power on earth you may have, you know what I mean, it's still earthly power if you're not glorifying God. When you're glorifying God, you're really in the power. And that's what's really keeping you protected. Forget anybody that's rolling with you, any protection you got on that note, you should even know, being a believer and saying you're a believer, nobody can stop you from the wrath of God. So with that being said, stop playing with God. You got people like me that's doing their best to find a positive out of what you're speaking and what you're doing. Don't try to make us look like fools, let alone don't try to make God look like a fool. Because if you do that, you're just hurting yourself. And you give them more of a reason for these people to point a finger at you. You know what I mean? You give them more of a reason for these people to point a finger at you and say, look, see that? He's even disrespecting his God. He's out of control. Oh, we really could pull him down. You're giving room for the devil to devour you. Any of his minions, any of his puppets to devour you. When you do that, in your own way, that's your way of, separating yourself from God by doing that. Because guess what? God is always with you. But sin makes you feel distant from God. God is with you through all things. Don't get it twisted. But blaspheming, disrespecting God, oh yeah, you give room for the devil to attack and his demons and his puppets. You know what I mean? To have justification. You see this, Lord? You see what he's doing? He needs to be humble. Stop playing with God, man. If you're going to glorify God, stay on track. Because not only is God cheering you on, your angels cheering you on, the Holy Spirit is with you. You know what I'm saying? You got people like us that believe, that's looking for a positive through everything you do. And I refuse to be made a fool of, and my God to be made a fool of. Speaking for somebody that says they're a believer. You say it, show it, and stand on it. And stop playing. For real.